Oh wow!
The first second of the episode is Rosie.
All right, sorry, we've started then. All right, on to the intro.
Right, take it away.
Hello, and welcome to the Football Weekly with myself, Ali, and Mark. So we've got two guests on tonight. So good evening, Casper. Casper is a Leicester fan and a Leicester Academy dad, so we're hoping to get some insight on what that's like, the demands it puts on your life, but also the insights you get on the club as well. And we've got Dave, who's a Leeds United fan. Dave's struggling to get on tonight, so he's still going to try over the next few minutes. But Dave, feel free to use the chat, obviously, if you still can't get in, and we'll try and, if you can't get in tonight, we'll try and look at why that happens and get you on for next week. So a busy, packed week in the EPL, lots of controversy. I know, Mark, you and I have been tweeting all weekend about
honestly, this guy.
Activity of Mohamed Salah versus Martial and Kane, and you know, we said it would be exciting tonight after watching the Liverpool West Ham game yesterday. Close game, and probably the right result over the 90 minutes, although that hurts me to say that a little bit. So got a few points we're going to run through tonight. A bit on the penalty incident yesterday, and are players like Salah forced to do that because they won't get a penalty, otherwise?
Oh yeah.
I want to talk about Southampton tonight. They're kind of doing a bit of a Leicester, aren't they? They were halfway through last season. We thought they were going down, and now they're just beating everyone in their path and scoring goals. Bit shaky at the back, but very exciting to watch going forward. Are Chelsea finally settling down? So their new signings seem to be scoring quite a few goals. 4 clean sheets in a row now. So looking very different to what they were 2 or 3 weeks ago. Is Bielsa the new tiki-taka? So, Dave, I really hope you get online to talk about that, because probably the most exciting team to come up for quite a while to have that instant impact with that style of football. Normally, footballing teams that come up fall flat on their face. So, really, really exciting to see. And then my final one, Mark, is Spanish football done? So, Barcelona, Real Madrid, shadow of their former selves at the moment. And no real shattering talent coming through, despite the fact they've had a few quid to spend. So yeah, I just want to talk about that. Has their day passed for now, and is it English football and German football that are the prominent two leagues now? What about yourself, Mark?
Well, I've got a few just off the back of the game I just watched. Really, Arsenal and Manchester United, two clubs, in my opinion, in completely different stages of the processes they're in. But Arsenal's process has only just started, whereas Solskjaer's is 100 games in, and they're still whacking 7 midfielders on to win a game. No whip. I think they had Cavani, who's not at it, but Arsenal are building a spine. They've got good young players. That midfielder they signed from Atletico, is it?
Partey, yeah.
What a player! Yeah. And he's only just started playing in the Premier League. What's he going to be like after 2 months? He's superb. They're building a spine. Think of their spine. They got a Gabriel. They got a Partey. They got a Bama Wanga. They got Leno, who's not a bad keeper. Yeah. That's the spine of a team. That is a spine. That's a genuinely good spine of a team. Now they just need to build around that. And I think Arsenal, they'll be back up there. They'll be challenging.
Yeah, very much so. They've got strength and depth as well, haven't they? When you think they've got players like Maitland-Niles, Ceballos, whatever his name is, from Real that they've loaned for another season. They've got the real good talent. And when you look on the bench, it was that's good at the moment as well. And he's the apprentice, isn't he? He's Guardiola's apprentice, and so that style of football is coming out of 2 teams in the Premier League now.
And Willian, brilliant signing, free transfer. Liverpool were actually linked with Willian, and I was actually hoping we would get him because he's a fantastic footballer. You can say what you want about Willian, but he's a fantastic footballer. Pogba, want to talk about Pogba? Don't get the hype. We'll talk about him later. I don't get it. I do not get it.
Might be quite a short one.
Yeah, it might be quite a short one. I think I want to talk about Vardy because we've got a Leicester fan on. Don't think Vardy gets enough respect. I don't think Leicester get enough respect for winning. We can love to talk about Leicester winning the league that year, and I don't think they get enough respect for that. Everyone just insults them by saying it was a one-off and there was luck. There was no luck involved, and it really winds me up when people say
it was a one-off though.
I don't even support Leicester, and it wasn't lucky. No, I just think the ultimate disrespect. It's the ultimate disrespect to Leicester to say it was a lucky. There's no such thing as a lucky league win. You don't get lucky over however many games it is. Bullshit. Absolute rubbish. I'll just pick subjects up as we go through the night, mate. So you crack on with your first one, bud.
All right, Casper. So you're a Leicester fan through and through. Although I think I do remember a distant moment in way back in our childhood, because I've known Casper for a long time, Mark. Where you were a United fan, weren't you? I'm talking a really long time ago here.
Straight under the bus.
90s, was it?
Yeah, so I think in the playground it was like you had your Man U fans, you had your Liverpool fans.
Yeah.
And I think the Liverpool fans used to play against the Man U fans. So depending on who, how I was feeling, one day I'd probably say I was a Man U fan. Another day I'd say I was a Liverpool fan, just depending on who I'd want to play football against. But do you know what? Yeah, I was a glory hunter, and fair enough. That's what a lot of kids do. But Leicester really caught my eye. I mean, to be honest, Peterborough United is probably is my hometown.
You're the boss.
And I just remember going to watch Peterborough a lot when I was a kid, and I was there when they played Liverpool.
Yeah. Famous victory. Bruce drop a lot.
And I've actually been back there a couple of times. With my son and my dad, I just love like that feel of that ground, and it's one of the only grounds left with a shed on London Road.
Yeah,
and
beautiful ground.
I actually remember. I remember back in the day, just like the people behind me in the London Road end, just the sort of abuse they were giving players, just like back then.
Wow. So when you were a kid, you went with your dad? Did he take you in the London Road end?
Yeah, and
wow.
and when my dad couldn't take me, we used to go in on our own as kids. I just remember. I think I must have been about 12, 13.
Yeah,
a little bit younger than my son now, and I just remember just that feeling, that vitriol in that end. It's just, yeah. But Leicester, it's probably a team that I follow the most. I've just fallen in love with the club, really. Just everything about the club is like gold standard. They don't have the same kind of wealth as other clubs, but just from the guy who's working the barrier all the way up to the CEO and to the owners, it's just so friendly, casual, but intelligent.
Mm.
What to say? They're not stuck up their own asses.
Yeah,
that's probably something that catches. And when I say they're smart, is that they'll bring talent through, but then when the player gets to a point where they know they can make a bit of cash on them, they'll let them go and say, right, carry on your career. Join Chelsea. Fulfill your dreams. It hasn't worked out for all the players, I suppose, but majority of them they've gone on and done better. So they won't stop players from progressing, I don't think.
Or moving backwards to Man U.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad
Harry Maguire. I don't get it.
I'm glad we got a shot of him.
Yeah, and replaced him with a better defender at a fraction of the price.
What's he called? That guy? Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
It's really great to hear you say that, Casper, because we were talking last week. One of the things that Mark and I were discussing were who are the well-run clubs in the Premier League, and it kind of came on the back of the West Ham board not being particularly ethical in their transfer dealings or honest with the fan base. And Mark asked me who I thought were the well-run teams in the Premier League, and I came up with about five or six. And Leicester was one of them, and it's hard for an outsider to have a bad word to say about Leicester. Really, the vibes that come out of the club are really positive. When teams go and play there, they say very positive things about the club as well. We hear about the gestures that the chairman and the ex-chairman, God rest his soul, made to the fans. Go for a free pie or a free pint, and all those little things that aren't going to bankrupt the chairman, but show the fans that they really, really care about about them. And what a great team to support. And let's move on to it. That amazing season. I'm going to start with a question. At what point did you think we might do it in that season? Where was the moment where you thought you beat someone or whatever it was, and you looked at your points total and you thought, actually, we might not choke here. We might bring it home.
So we were watching game after game on TV, and it actually, I think around Christmas time, because the run up to Christmas was phenomenal. I thought if we get to Christmas and we carry on winning, because I remember the first match of that season, I think I was on a beach with you, and we'd just beaten West Ham.
That's right.
And I was like, and I was going, we've beaten West Ham. We're going to win the league.
Old Ali gets that a lot.
And we hadn't seen each other for quite a while. My family were there, you were there.
Yeah.
I said, yes, we beat West Ham. The season's ours.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kept on winning and winning and winning. And it got to Christmas. I thought, if we make it through to January and we keep on doing this, we've got a chance. And we just got better. And then the new manager kind of took over. Didn't take over. He didn't actually do anything to the team when he took over. He just, I think there's a lot of strong personalities. You've got Wes Morgan, you've got your old Brightons in there, and these kind of players who've been with the club through thick and thin. And I think he just did absolutely the right thing and just said, right, actually, I haven't got many injuries. Things seem to be working well. Why muddle? Why change things? And the best thing he did was just let the team play how they've been playing and how they wanted to play as a team. And I think that was the crucial thing was that he came in, Ranieri, and just let the team flow and play. And when we started beating the bigger teams after Christmas, he just knew it was in the bag. And then I think it was a case of it was us and Tottenham, and it was a bit of a juggling match between us and Tottenham, and the rest is history. I think Tottenham lost. I think,
or Chelsea.
And we won the league, and there we go. That's history made. But I think since then, I mean, that's been a springboard. And you said right at the beginning, was it luck? Well, lots of things went in Leicester's way. You had the transition in Manchester United, which is still going on. You had
the biggest transition flipping ever.
Yeah, it's like it's a 5-year transition.
Well, 8 year, I think.
It's like 7 managers, 5 years.
It's like an NHS IT project.
David Moyes just come out of his 10-year contract they gave him, isn't he?
One of the most expensive change projects in history. Yeah, it's up there. So that's still going on to this day. But you had the Tottenham choke at the same time, which is you probably expect every year. You had Arsenal, who didn't know that the head got stuck up their own arses. Liverpool were nowhere to be seen. So it was only really Chelsea. You put up a bit of a fight, but then we smashed them, I think, twice.
Yeah.
And
Casper, I think none of that should take anything away from Leicester winning the league. You did your job. No, honestly, mate, you did your job. Everyone else told it. You haven't got to put yourself down by saying, well, Liverpool were crap, Man United are crap. No. Leicester deserved to win the league. They're the most consistent team.
Yeah, definitely. As a West Ham fan, I just like to say thank you, Leicester. for the one season that Spurs could have won the league. He made sure they didn't. So as well as being behind Leicester as a neutral fan, which pretty much every neutral in the country was. The day they won and it was on the news, and you saw the people of Leicester, crying on the streets because they'd won the league. I had a lump in my throat as well. It was an incredible time. But just the thought of Spurs winning the league is a bit nasty. So it was a double win. The icing on the cake for me was the fact that you're right. The big teams didn't gel that year, but you've still got to put points on the table. You've still got to beat those teams, and you've got to be consistent throughout the season to win the league. And it wasn't a shabby points total you finished with. You won it You won it convincingly. Exactly. And then after you won it, you weren't dropping points after it. Like, for example, certain teams might have done last season, where got over the line and then went out on the piss and then took it a bit easy after that.
One of the most satisfying aspects of that for me, and I'm not even a Leicester fan. I admire Leicester, but I'm not a Leicester fan. Is the Ranieri? Everyone was taking a piss out of him. Oh, he's a tinker man. He changes it, and at the end, he was just like, you know what I mean? He was just like, look what I've done.
Didn't tinker at all.
No,
I don't
exactly.
think.
It was a meme. He was almost a meme, wasn't he, from his tinker man reputation?
And it was great to see an Italian manager win the league playing direct football as well, or counter-attacking. I don't want to be dismissive. Direct.
Vardy.
Seen as an insult, isn't it? But that you had all these teams playing the high press, and Leicester just exploited it over the top, and then had great wingers and fullbacks that weren't afraid to get forward. Solid central midfield base, as Casper said. You couldn't that squad that season, not just the first 11, because they had a few injuries, but every time something looked like it might go wrong, they just carried on purring. It was a finely tuned engine, whoever was on the field, and created some stars that year, didn't they, from players that were in a relegation battle a few months before.
I'll tell you what, Leicester have got a cracking squad now. I think their average age is like 23, 24, 25, around 25 years old. You got some really, really tidy young players coming through there again. So if you can keep them together and Rodgers doesn't start believing his own hype like he did at Liverpool, then honestly, that's what happened. He did. He started to believe his own hype. Yeah. His biggest thing he did at Liverpool, mate, was he started to want to control all the transfers. Now, I think our transfer business since he left has proved he was wrong not to accept. He didn't want any part of that. He wanted to say Jurgen Klopp, it was actually his idea to have this transfer committee. Do you remember when all the press were taking the piss out of us for having a transfer committee and why have you got all these analysts and stuff like that? Brendan Rodgers didn't want any of that. But at Leicester, I think Leicester's the perfect club for him. I think he's got lots of good young players there. I think he's got so much room for development there. You love him at Leicester, and quite rightly so. He plays good football. He plays good football. He's an honest bloke. Don't me get it wrong. He's an honest bloke, but he can get a little bit too cocky. Maybe the thing at Liverpool has actually stopped him getting cocky. I don't know.
What's your question? What's your question for Casper then, Mark? On the basis of that, I'll ask it. So, how do you feel? How's Rodgers doing, Casper? Is he the manager you want for the next 2 or 3 years? Have you got any fears about his management style? So
I think Brendan Rodgers is absolutely the right man for this club. He's absolutely passionate about young players, as you've said, and developing youth. I don't think we've ever had as many under 23s out on loan as we ever have in this season. I think in the club's history, even maybe. So that means that he's challenging the club. He's putting everybody under a little bit of pressure at all levels of the club to perform. And that's what you've got to do to raise the standards of the club consistently over time to make it a big club. So he's challenging the youngsters in the 23s to go out on loan, learn how to be a footballer, play men's football, which means that then 18s then have to go into the 23s and cover off, and they're playing like hard football and playing and challenging themselves. That means the 16s are playing in the 18s and so on and so on. all the way down. So everyone, no one's coasting in the club because Rodgers is putting pressure on everybody just about in the right way, and you can see that with the team. I mean, that defensive block against Arsenal was perfection. Arsenal played well against Man U today, and for Leicester to kind of soak up that pressure without pretty much, I mean, what they had 2 or 3 shots, easy saves. They just soaked up the pressure, but it's not attractive. But everyone's working hard. Everyone's busting the gut for the benefit. There's no stars. There's no there's nobody like who's going and doing something else and grabbing all the limelight. Tillemans, he's absolutely doing it in midfield. Unfortunately, indeed he's injured, and he was our standout midfielder. But and that affected us in the running at the end of last season. I think otherwise we'd have been in the top 4 if he'd still been playing. He hadn't got injured. But we've got Mendy there, kind of covering off. Yeah. We've got youngsters like Barnes.
I like Harvey Barnes. I like Harvey Barnes. Lots of it. Dave, the Leeds fan, for me, Brendan is one of the best British managers around. He absolutely is. And maybe the Liverpool experience has, brought him back down to where he won't get so. I really hope, because he is a cracking manager. He just lost his way at Liverpool. That's all. He just lost his way.
Yeah. Potentially, but maybe there was friction between the management and the executive at Liverpool and the manager. I mean, I don't know
because of the transfer. I think we ended up with Benteke, remember? And Mario Balotelli.
But the executive board in Leicester, I think, completely trusts the manager to execute his strategy and to execute his plan at every level. And I think that's what you're saying.
That's great to hear. And interesting that we could talk about so many good players, great players there, and not even have to mention Maddison, who I think if Leicester were a smaller team in a lesser place, we'd be talking about Maddison, wouldn't we? Maddison. But your team's in such a good place that when he was injured and came back, he wasn't getting on because you were already doing all right without him, and that's a sign of a really strong squad. I think you can do well.
I got a comparison: Maddison when fully fit and on form, or Grealish when fully fit and on form. Choose which one, because they're both pretty similar.
Who are you asking? Both of us.
Anyone in the chat? Anyone in it? Grealish or Maddison?
For me, Grealish just about takes it at the moment.
Madison. Dave says Maddison. Interesting.
And it's close. It's close, but they're different. They've got very different playing styles, and Maddison's a bit more. Madison's a bit more controlled in his game, I think. But Grealish is like a magician, isn't he? He can pull things out of the bag a bit more.
Did you say Maddison's got a better end product?
Oh,
I say Maddison's got a better free kick, corners, shot on him.
Grealish is on fire at the moment, isn't he? I mean, scoring every game, assisting on pretty much every game.
Chris says, who does Chris support? Grealish all day long, says Chris.
Does Grealish depend on lots of good players around him?
No, because he hasn't got them at Aston Villa. Well, he hasn't.
I'd say Maddison's got a stronger group around him. I think we talked about Grealish last week, Mark and I, and both said he should stay at Villa and be the big fish in the small pond, because that's how it works. If he goes to a big club, then his weaknesses will get exposed more. But as a top dog, that gives him a chance to shine.
So. It was a talisman. Why would you, if you were Jack Grealish right now, why would you move? Why would you possibly, unless you're guaranteed to start for one of these big 6, why would you move now? You wouldn't. You just wouldn't.
When Villa are in the bottom 2.
Are they
get relegated again?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, obviously, if they're going to get relegated, I wouldn't recommend them stay around. But
we tried at the end of the season to send them down, and then because we played them last game, and then they equalised, didn't they, with like 5 minutes left or something, or 2 minutes left, and they stayed up because of it. So.
Okay, Jamie Vardy, does he get enough credit? Does Jamie Vardy get enough credit? Do you think if he was Brazilian or Spanish or Belgian, do you think he would be hyped up a bit more? How old is he now? 33, 34? And he's still bagging him in. He's still running around like a teenager. Does he get?
Yes, but I mean, so a lot of his goals are penalties. You know,
and everyone raved about him.
But let's go back a couple of seasons. You know, that he was unstoppable. You know, I don't think he's the most technical player I've ever seen. I don't think he's got the best pass, but his absolute dogged determination and never give up attitude just shows how far you can go when you aren't a you know, a Barcelona prodigy, or you're not off this kind of production line of academy talent. You just need, if you've got some determination, some commitment, and composure in front of goal, and just practice, you can go a long way. He gets a lot of credit on BBC, but then they're all mates, aren't they? I think they all you know, go out together. I think some of the pundits on the BBC, and I think they're all in that clique. But anyway, nowhere else does Vardy get much.
Do you know what I love about Vardy? There's no, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, there's no fancy rubbish. There's no step overs, and if he just sees ball, hit ball, and I love that about him.
Yeah.
There's none of this step overs and Cruyff turns. He gets in the box, one touch. Why not even one touch? Sometimes he runs onto a ball. Like, do you remember that ball he smashed over Mignolet? That's when I thought you were going to win the league. When he smashed that ball over Mignolet that season, inside right channel, bang, over his head. That's what he does. No fancy stuff. Chases hard, finishes, one touch, bang. It's just, he just has the basics down to an absolute perfection. He really does.
Yeah. But that's why you need players like Maddison and Tielemans to actually keep feeding him. Without those two players, Vardy wouldn't get the service that he needs.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
Who does Chris support? I'm asking, who does Chris support? What were you going to say, Al? It looked like you were going to say something then.
I was, yeah.
Go on,
So, Casper, I just wanted to ask you about, so obviously your son Khan is in the academy at Leicester.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, you know, that means you get to see a lot of the kind of behind the scenes stuff at the club. Hence, you know, you could talk about how well run it was. So how old is he now? Is he 14, 13?
So he's 50. He's 15, so he's under 16. So he's not 15 yet, but he plays under 16.
Gotcha. So does that mean that he gets to spend any time with the first team, or does he get to meet the manager, that kind of thing?
Probably pre-COVID, he would have had an opportunity to kind of see, maybe because he did day release before COVID. And I should just correct myself. He is 15. He plays under 16. I don't know what I'm saying. He's 16 next year. Don't even know the age of my own son.
Time flies, mate. Time flies. I'm with you.
Yeah. Pressures of lockdown. But so you know, when he was under 14, under 13s. Under 15s, he would have been under 14, under 15. He'd have been on day release, so he would have gone to the canteen. He would have seen the players. He's met Ranieri, and you know what? Brendan Rodgers, I think Han told me that he stopped one day when Han was at day release, and he just stopped and said, "How are you boys? Are you doing all right?" In his accent, you know, said, "All right, keep working hard," and just all that sort of stuff. So, you know, the philosophy at Leicester, and bearing in mind they're moving to a £100 million training facility soon, which is going to be the best in Europe, by the way. So all on day release, yeah. On day release, he ate, and he, you know, next to the players, next to the first team players, he ate around them and was surrounded by them. And I was told when Han first signed that was a deliberate philosophy from the club. You know, that they see these players and they see them as footballers, and they want to aspire to be in their position. Rather than at Man City, where it's all gilded behind an impenetrable kind of curtain. You know, even the dome at City, you know, there's a part of the dome for the first team, and then there's everyone else, and you just don't see them. Obviously, COVID's changed all that. There's absolutely no access to the first team. They're in a bubble. But to answer your question, you know, I don't think there's many academies, even now, that they're not in their kind of super snazzy facility that's better than Leicester. All the coaches are straight up people. They really look after the boys and care for the boys. Even boys that they release, they have a vested interest that they do well, and they'll try and find them clubs. So football's a meritocracy. You find your level, and you might find that level is at Leicester, or you might find it's at League One or League Two. So they'll do the utmost to get you to a club so you can carry on playing football, or to go to the States and play. And Leicester will invest, even though you're leaving the club, in you to do that by inviting scouts and stuff. So I've got nothing bad to say about
Liverpool
it.
are also combining. They're moving from Melwood in the international break. They're moving from Melwood to a brand new state of the art. So everyone from under sixes to the first team, all under the same roof. And what Liverpool?
But does that have a nine?
Say again?
Does that have a 9-hole golf course around the outside of it?
Definitely not. Knowing Jurgen, he'll probably have like a head tennis court going around here. He loves head tennis, apparently. He does. He's got head tennis courts set up all over the place.
There you go.
Gents,
we've got doing one. Sorry, Mark.
We've got a talent group from the under 12. Sorry, buddy. Under 12s to the under 23s. The best of the best go and train with the first team twice a week. I think that's a brilliant idea. Sorry, I'll carry on.
Sorry, I forgot about the slight delay. So I'll just jump in. So while we're doing the one-upmanship, just like to say, the West Ham training facility at Rush Green, we're getting the roof repaired on the mobile next week. So it won't leak on the Microsoft XP computer where David Moyes does his tactics anymore. So we're going to be in a good place going forward. Apparently the under 12s can stop training at Manor Park, and they're going to be allowed into a real pitch that's got goals and stuff, so they don't have to use their jumpers for goalposts anymore. So it's a bright future for West Ham Academy.
Go on, Andy. Let's have a VAR discussion, Ali. I can see you shifting around in your seat. I can see you flexing your muscles, sticking that ginger hair of yours.
All right.
Do you know what? Wait, if you check Twitter, I think you'll find Son and Kane have just dived in the Brighton game within 20 seconds of each other. I think you'll find. When we get into this throwing stones and glass houses, it's not just Salah. Vardy's done it. No, I'm joking. Carry on. It's a good discussion to have, to be fair. It's a really good discussion.
I mean, the last time I can remember it really happened with the West Ham player was Lanzini about 3 seasons ago, where I remember it quite clearly, and not because I looked at it again on YouTube last night, but I think we were away at Stoke, might have been home at Stoke. We won 3-0 anyway, and it was under Moyes' first tenure. And Lanzini was we were 2-0 up. Lanzini's heading towards goal, edge of the box. And Shawcross comes in and he puts his whole right leg out in front of him. So Lanzini's got nowhere to go. He can go in, feel the contact and go down, or because of the pace that he's running, he can think, well, I don't want to have my leg broken here. I can jump over him, try and avoid it at the last minute. So he does that. He leaps over it, lands on the ground, gets a penalty because contact or not, he was about to get taken out. He got the penalty, we scored, won the game, and then he got a retrospective ban for 3 games for deceiving the referee. And so there was a lot of kind of uproar at the time, obviously from West Ham fans, just saying really that, if it had been another team, if it had been a big team, that probably wouldn't have happened to them. And actually, some of what I've read on Twitter today was, you look at yesterday's penalty in the Liverpool-West Ham game, clearly there was contact. And if there's contact, then you're giving the referee something to think about. Either you're going to give the penalty or you're not. And I don't question that for a minute. What I question is that there's players, not one, but several that and you've named some of them, Mark, that will feel contact, and rather than try and carry on playing, the first thing they'll try and do is, try and get to the ground as theatrically as possible to try and win, to try and get a penalty, rather than try and stay on the feet and score a goal. So when we talk about kind of British values of football and what we teach our kids through the academies and so on and so forth, and maybe this is rose-tinted old school view. No, shouldn't footballers in the Premier League be trying to do that? And by the referees not clamping down on it, are we actually are we actually encouraging it as a football culture in our country? So my headline for this was, are referees now soft on simulation? So I'm not saying completely making it up, but the histrionics of I feel contact, and the example with the reason it wound me up with Salah yesterday wasn't that it wasn't a foul. It was that the contact took place, then he put his foot down, and then he dived. So you could see that slight pause before he decided, oh, I've had contact here, I'm going to go down and get a penalty. And when you're on the defending team, all three pundits on Match of Day last night said, if you're the defending team, you're going to be really hacked off about that. I mean, it's a bit peed at Masuaku for sticking his leg out in the first place. But are we encouraging this culture by either not awarding the penalty if you don't go down in the first place, or by awarding a penalty when VAR could have picked up yesterday, and on lots of other occasions, don't get me wrong, with other teams and other players, where there's contact and then you see a reaction, you see a pause and then a reaction from a player, but we give the penalty anyway.
Do you know what would solve this? Is if a player like whoever, so I'll say Vardy, is in the box, he skins someone, they click his ankles, he can stay on his feet, then you play advantage for that split second. If to encourage him to stay on his feet, the referees are instructed just to play advantage for 5 seconds. Has he stayed on his feet? And if he misses the shot, because he's off balance or he squares it to someone who misses, then you bring it back for the penalty. But they're not encouraging.
No, but that happens. That the rule of play on is there, isn't it? So this is what I mean. There's players. So look at Antonio. He'll never go down for a penalty. He'll stay if he feels contact. He will just carry on and try and score a goal. And there's probably three. Maybe this is the whole Jose Mourinho thing of BSCUNT that feel it, you go down, just get the penalty. And maybe smaller teams like West Ham are a bit naive. I don't know. But
I think so. I'll go. I think maybe you're too nice because. I think it's called. I've lived through bloody United. Manchester United have had more penalties than any of the other top leagues in Europe combined.
Yeah, but Mark, you question every single one and say it's not fair. So it's got to be one or the other, hasn't it? Surely, Martial's diving to win a penalty. That's either acceptable because other footballers are doing it, or it's not.
It's not acceptable. But Salah didn't dive yesterday because you said yourself he got kicked.
I haven't seen Martial really go down when there hasn't been some kind of contact. It's the same. It's exaggeration rather than simulation.
I'll go along that. It's called being streetwise. The exaggeration's pathetic, and I'll call that out. Salah does it. He does exaggerate, but that's only because he probably hasn't got some penalty sometimes when he should have done. So some players. It's coached. It is coached. If you look, Vardy's very good at it. When he gets in between his body, in between the defender and the ball, he sticks his legs in between the defender's legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's done that good at it. Yeah. We got to the semi-finals of the World Cup by it, I guess, didn't we? By some winning some cunning penalties. Casper, what's your view?
Dave said.
Oh, sorry.
I suppose the ultimate aim is to win the game of football. So it's about winning it without cheating. So I think if you feel contact and you don't and you feel it, and just even standing on your toe, your metatarsal, can be absolutely excruciating, and it could impede you like making that next step. But if it's really in a tight area, you really want the ref to know that that's happened. The Italians do it really well, where they roll 4 times after they just get skimmed on the shoulder. And I think I saw a really good clip today where from non-league where somebody throws the ball back at a centre back, and just for a joke he goes down, and the game wasn't even playing. But anyway, I think it's legit. If you get kicked, and and it hurts, you go down, and whether you flail your arm out and make it a bit more theatrical, it's going to get the referee's attention. So I think it's a legitimate tactic if you get fouled. Now, simulation, not getting touched, that's cheating. So that's got no place in the game. And VAR.
So what's Lanzini?
From a player's point of view, could you go back into a changing room when you could have gone down and won a penalty, but you stayed on your feet in the last minute of a game. And what do you say to your teammates? If you could have gone down and won a penalty, but you stayed on your feet, and what, from a player's point of view, what do you do in that situation?
Exactly. The captain will have a go at you.
So it's coached, and it's also a culture of win at all costs, isn't it?
And what's the difference between doing that and like a professional foul at the other end of the pitch when you're running and like somebody knows they're going to get a yellow card and completely chops you down, picks you up, shakes your hand and says, "Sorry, mate, had to do that."
That's what should be a red card, in my opinion. Is when if there's a counter attack on and there's like a 2-on-1 up the pitch and someone just sides someone down or pulls their shirt, and like Luke Shaw who was that against? Luke Shaw, when he just completely was it Spurs? Spurs, wasn't it? Like, old boy was like 10 feet in front of him and he just sived him down. That's a red card. That's a professional foul. That's a red card, in my opinion.
But it's a professional foul. It's a yellow card. It's within the rules of the game. We can't change it. It's just gamesmanship, isn't it? It's like, right, but then he knows then that he's on a yellow card. So a smart team, a smart manager will go, right, make sure you get him to do it again, and then he gets
okay. So I'm willing to accept that. So Mark, I think now we've put this one to bed. We don't need to tweet about Man United winning penalties anymore because it's just part of the professional game. So that's it now. Done. No more Man United penalty tweets.
They have had 5,600 penalties in the last 3 days.
22 last season, wasn't it? 22.
But now we know the best signing of the season. Fernandes is like a power play player in American football. He just brings them on for the penalties. Don't do bugger all.
Now we know why, Mark. Now we know why, and it's all okay. So that's great. Well done, Man United. Let's move on to our next subject. Do you want to do one, Mark?
Yeah, I would like to talk about Manchester United, actually. Kick and winner now. It's just right, they're 100 games into Solskjaer, right? We were just talking about Arteta, weren't we? How long has Arteta been there? About, is it not a year, is it already?
100 season, I think.
So he's already got a spine to that Arsenal team. He's got quality youngsters in that Arsenal team. He knows what he's doing. They've got a way of playing. I mean, look at their defence now compared to what it was. They were like a sieve, weren't they? They were just shipping goals left, right, and centre. They've got a structure. Solskjaer's had 100 games at Manchester United, and look what he did today against Arsenal. He had 2 holding midfielders on, 1-0 losing the game at home. He had 2 holding midfielders on the pitch. No wingers. Yeah. He brings on Cavani, who's had no. Why did he even buy Van Beek? Why?
I think it's a case of a bad manager signing a good player and not really knowing what to do with him. In all honesty, Van der Beek's a very good player. Was brilliant for Ajax, but trying to fit him into a pedestrian Man United tactical system that relies on the genius of individuals and the pace of strikers, rather than the collective effort that traditionally we used to see with Man United under the Fergie era, where everyone, the sum of the parts was greater than the individuals, wasn't it, under Fergie? And it's kind of the opposite under Solskjaer, in my view. That they're spending money and they're going backwards.
They got Martial. I think he's absolutely. I would love to see Klopp get hold of him for a season. Yeah. I think Martial's brilliant. I think Rashford's brilliant. Bit streaky, but brilliant. I I love the way he plays the game.
Yeah.
Greenwood just needs to grow up a bit, and he'll be he'll be brilliant. He's a youngster. They're going to make mistakes. They've had a pretty good Liverpool. Sol Coutinho didn't want to be at the club. Fair enough, no problem. 150 million by Alisson and Van Dijk. Lovely. Manchester United had exactly the same situation. Pogba did not want to be at the club. Made that pretty clear, didn't he? Or his agent did.
Yeah.
Sell him. Get 130 million. Spend it on 2 world-class players. No, we're Manchester United. We're too proud. No one leaves Manchester United. That's exactly what they were coming out with at the time. These sources. It's wonderful to watch from a Liverpool fan's point of view, but it's just, how can a club that size get it wrong? So wrong since Alex Ferguson retired. So often. Look at the way Leicester run. Look at the way Leeds are Hopefully, we'll talk about Leeds in a minute.
Yeah,
I just don't understand how Manchester United can be run so badly. I really don't.
I think to have they've got 7 or 8 points from 6 games.
What do you got like about Pogba? Everyone in the chat, what's everyone's opinions on Paul Pogba? I'd love to get different opinions on Paul Pogba. I really would.
Right, I'll go. I'll go. I'll say, go on, Casper.
I think. I mean, we've talked about the 2 holding midfielders. So Fred is a good CDM, probably one of the best in the world in terms of picking up positions and stopping people attacking and scoring goals. Protects his back 4. But what Fred isn't that good at is sometimes his touch is a bit off. Sometimes his passing lets him down. And he's not the most technical. Look at Thiago. He's not a Thiago, is he? So Fred is your CDM that you need to not ship any goals. So you're looking at 1-0s, 2-0s, but you always get that. You never concede with Fred on the pitch. You shouldn't. But then Pogba is almost a little bit of Fred and a little bit of Fernandes, but then he kind of meanders around the pitch, not really helping either of them, like link play. So what did I say? I saw Pogba up by the corner flag. Pogba should be playing more central and linking play to Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford and threading those balls through those thirds, getting the balls forward for them to run onto, or linking the play. So Fred knocks it short to Pogba or knocks it short to McTominay. Then they link the play to Fernandes, who then allows the other players to kind of run on and kind of get those overloads. I just don't see that, and that's what I think is the basic problem: is that Pogba isn't doing his job. That's my opinion. He's doing
Pogba's often played out of position these days, though, isn't he? Which I think brings us back to Solskjaer and his tactics, and Phelan and Neville and that backroom staff there about what they're actually doing, because we know that Pogba can do it because we've watched him win a World Cup. We've watched his first season back at United. He was really good for at least 2/3 of it. And then it's been entropy ever since, hasn't it? He's just gradually got worse and worse and worse.
There he is.
Sorry?
So you just froze for a minute. Sorry, carry on. You just froze for a second.
So he's got worse and worse over the last kind of 1.5 seasons from a place of some really strong performances, assists and goals. But when I watch him, I completely concur with Casper that sometimes you question what position he's supposed to be playing in, because are you supposed to be holding? Are you supposed to be a number 10? Are you out on the right? Because I can't work it out. And then when he loses the ball, which is happening more and more often at the moment, he stops and puts his head in his hands, frustrated at himself for losing the ball rather than trying to run back and fulfill his role within a professional football team. So the decline, I used to stand up for Pogba quite a lot. I mean, we used to have some banter about it, didn't we, Mark? But I can't anymore. And but I am mindful of the fact of, is it the team he's in that have got such terrible tactics, and clearly what's going on in the training ground isn't fit for a team of United's stature, at least what they had under Fergie. There's only so long that you can stretch that out for, in my view. But assume that we still are, is the infrastructure of the club, and I mean on the training ground by that, because the whole Woodwards, etc., is a complete other issue. Is that good enough, given United's recent history? And I don't think it is. And so you get a lot of players that when you look at them on paper, should be a great team, but it's not. But those players can leave United, go somewhere else. Depay is a fantastic example of that. Absolutely crap for United. It's gone and set Europe alight, having left the club. And there's loads of examples like that. And conversely, there's examples of great players that have come to United in the last 2-3 years, not really doing that much at all. I guess Fernandes is the one that's covered it all up in the last 6 months by coming in and making an impression. But generally, not.
Scoring penalties. That's what he's done. He scored.
No, he's got a spark. When he came on the other night in the Champions League, he turned the game around. He's got star quality, but he's another one that, just for me, I mean, he's probably. You like this one after all the banter about Salah over the last 24 hours. He's probably the biggest diver in the Premier League by Mal Fernandes. He doesn't need to be touched. He will hit the floor to try and con the referee. So.
My favourite penalty decision in the last years was him stamping on the foot of a West Brom defender and getting a penalty for it. He stamped on the defender's foot and he got a penalty for it. VAR checked it and went, no, you're right. You stamped on his foot. You should get a penalty for it. If you look at all the best teams in the world right now, club sides, you've got great managers, maybe apart from Barcelona, you've got great managers. When you get to Manchester United, it's like, look at Solskjaer. You've got Pochettino available. Sorry, you've got Pochettino available. Yeah. You've got a guy who led Pogba at Juventus, Allegri, available. What on earth? I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope they don't change it. I hope Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stays there for the rest of his natural life. I'm joking, Chris. He's an awesome player. Fernandes. Fernandes is actually what I think they thought Pogba was going to do. Don't you agree?
Yeah. 100%.
Fernandes is what they thought Pogba was going to be. Pogba is probably best as a number 10 with two holding midfielders behind him, so he can just wander around and do what he wants. But that's Fernandes' job. And then they got Van Beek, who did that job for Ajax. And then to be honest, Crass, but I don't think Fred's that good. I don't think he's one of the best in the world. He's tidy. Fred is tidy, and he'll do the yards, and he's a workman. I don't know if he's like one of the best in Europe at holding midfield. But actually, that was a discussion you wanted last week, wasn't it? Holding midfielders.
It was, but I kind of agree with Casper and Fred. This season in particular, where I think Fred's probably one of United's best players so far this season. He's one of those Brazilians that's taken a while to settle into the Premier League, but now he's started to find his feet a little bit. I think he's given some very assured performances, and in Europe in particular, he looks really good. So I think he's one of those. If you go by his previous reputation for United, I'd completely get that. But I think more recently, in 2020, maybe he doesn't like fans or something. I don't know, but he's been really good.
It almost takes a keen eye to see his contribution to the team, where he's running between the 10 and the 9, the 10 and the 9 of the opposition, blocking the passes and the ball through to them. It's not glamorous. It's not nice to do as a player, but they do it.
Very unbrazilian. No, do you know what? I'll go along with. I mean, mate, Bobby Firmino's fallen off the edge of a cliff at Liverpool, but he still works hard to create space. I think he'll be dropped now. I think Jota will take over, and Shaqiri, who I've told Ali many times, I think Shaqiri's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. He's a maverick, and hopefully, a bit like Fred, Bobby Firmino, he's fallen off the edge of a cliff. So hopefully, like Fred, he can climb back up that cliff and start playing again. But we'll see. What was your next subject, Al? Chelsea.
Let's go on to Leeds next. So, so Dave, appreciate we can see you've been trying to grab the spot probably more times than Donald Trump's grabbed a pussy. So sorry that you can't get in. So we will be looking at the chat box quite a lot to see your views on it. So the question is, and I guess we'll start talking about it, David. Just come in with your view. Is Bielsa the new tiki-taka? And by that, what I mean is, it's so refreshing to see a team come up, not buy a whole new squad, but play kind of a brand of football that on its day can beat anyone. Absolutely anyone. I mean, Leeds are the most exciting, in my view, most exciting team to come up for quite a while, and for the existing Premier League teams to work out how to neutralise them, it's really difficult. Just looking at Bamford's hat-trick last weekend, the way that Leeds play, it's just phenomenal. They're blowing teams away and almost reminiscent of, the old Leeds. By that I mean the oldish Leeds, the O'Leary years. So, Dave, it would be good to hear from you. How do you feel that the tactics work? Is Bielsa the new Messiah, and so on? Because as a neutral watching, and what an incredible team to watch.
I've just asked him if he wants me to play him through WhatsApp. If I phone him on WhatsApp or something, I don't know if he'll put his number in. I don't know, but maybe they could do it that way. I could hold him up to the speaker and he can join the discussion. I don't know why it's not letting. Oh, from when he's come in, just over 2 years, it's been mind blowing from us. He's your Klopp, isn't he? I think he's very much Leeds United's version of Klopp. I think he gets the city, doesn't it? He gets the fan base. Yeah. He only lives in a flat. He's moved into a flat in a residential area. He's just. I love watching him on the sidelines. The sheer passion of the bloke is fantastic.
Yeah. I think for me, where he was willing for his team not to go up in the playoffs for the sake of fair play last but one season. And obviously he got quite a lot of stick for that. But I just thought, what an incredible man to be leading your club. What a leader of footballers to say the principle of pure football is more important than stealing a goal in a playoff. And then to come back and just go up the next season instead, absolutely brilliant. And in the manner they did so. I mean, who would want?
Yeah. Dave, I've just given you my number. If you want to phone me, I'll play you through the speaker on WhatsApp or something, if that's easier for you. It's up to you.
Yeah. So Dave said he trains to play the players hard, and they've all bought into it, which is obvious. But again, what I see, kind of mentioned this with Leicester in their championship winning year. For some of the parts is greater than the individuals, from what I can see. And don't get me wrong, I don't know all the Leeds players kind of inside out because I've only really seen them since I've been in the Premier League. But they all know exactly what they're doing, don't they? They're well drilled. They're all skilled. They're all ballers. There's no non-ballers in that starting 11 that I've seen yet. And they're confident to pass it around the back, but not in a laboured way like some teams do for the sake of it. They're just so attacking. It's just great to see.
Shall I tell you what it is as well, Ali? And I learned that from when they went toe to toe with us at Anfield. They were fantastic. Is their fitness never wavers. They are probably one of the fittest sides in the league. They're one of the youngest sides, and if you can be fit, a lot of the sides that come up, you're right, Ali. They play this lovely passing football. But then when they don't get the ball, their fitness can't stand up to chasing the ball around for 70% of the possession. Leeds' fitness is absolutely phenomenal.
And they can defend. So clubs go back down when they can't defend. Look at Fulham. We all know Fulham are going, and we said it last week, didn't we? Fulham are going down, not because they haven't got some great attacking players. They have, but they can't defend, so they'll go down. And but Leeds, they just look solid. They look like they've been in the Premier League for 5 years already.
Yeah, three players have to be able to play several positions. Yeah, Dallas played three. I love Calvin Phillips. I think when Gini leaves, and I think Gini will leave Liverpool, he hasn't got much else to accomplish. I wouldn't mind Calvin Phillips at Liverpool, to be perfectly honest. I think he's very much a Klopp kind of player, to be honest, Calvin Phillips.
That's just a big club view, isn't it? We'll come and steal your great player from the Premier League because we've got enough money to do that.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I don't know. You can have Origi for free, please. I'll drive him there myself. I don't even drive.
All about the fitness, Dave says. It is. But I think that thing of being able to play in multiple positions, it's kind of that total football ethos, isn't it? That people can switch in and out. So not just tactically when subs come on, but you can switch during a game. And take the other team by surprise. So when you think about those great classic Ajax teams and the Barcelona team of 10 years ago, they could literally switch wings. You wouldn't mid game and you wouldn't know what's going on all of a sudden because you're facing a different winger to what you were a couple of minutes ago with a different skill set, or that ability to change tactics very quickly is a sign of a top manager. West Ham have just started playing well because we've worked out one system that fits all our players. But that'll be it until, everyone works it out and start beating us again. But
it's a myth that his teams run out of steam towards the season. Exactly. Don't let Klopp had that for his first 2 years. Some egg on Twitter told him he got too many injuries and blah, 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 blah. Don't listen to a word they say, Dave. It's jealousy. Absolute jealousy. It really is. I mean, even you got to look at what he's done with Patrick Bamford. Now, I'll be honest, I've watched Bamford quite a bit previous, and I've been like, not very. I wasn't thinking, he's a Premier League. But I tell you what, he's banging them in now. He's banging them in now. And Bielsa, I can't even say his name. Bielsa deserves a whole lot of credit because he's bought some expensive forward players, and lo and behold, Bamford's gone, oh, hang on, I've got to raise my game. And he has. He started banging in hat-tricks. And so he's a very, very good man manager as well, by the look of it, you know?
Is there a synergy between Bamford and Vardy come up, through the lower leagues? Obviously Bamford was a Chelsea player for a while, wasn't he? And was going out on loan, left, right, and centre, and then found a natural home at Leeds. Played there for a few seasons and came up. It's quick. Can score with both his feet, good in the air when he gets the opportunity to. Because they don't play in the air that much, Leeds, do they? But is Bamford, an equitable player to that Vardy kind of thing, a Roy of the Rovers story?
He's just saying his work ethic is the main thing. That's why he'll always be. So he's kind of like maybe your Bobby Firmino, is he, Dave? He's kind of like does all the hard work, but and also likes good finishing and stuff like this. But and what I like about Leeds is they had terrible owners for a few years, didn't they? But these owners are backing a manager. What was it, Rodrigo and all these other Rafinha? Is it? Did he go to Leeds? Yeah. I'm sure he did. Yeah. Cracking players, and they fit the mould. They've got the workhorses. Yeah. And now they're adding the X factor.
No fish tank, though, Dave. No fish tank.
What?
No fish tank in the chairman's room.
Oh, jeez.
The story about Peter Ridsdale and his 20 grand fish tank.
Oh, flipping Peter
Ridsdale. His aquarium in his office.
He's at Barnsley now, isn't he? Peter Ridsdale, I think. I don't know.
It's easy to be dismissive, though, isn't it? It was under that regime that they got to the semis of the Champions League.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, mate, Ellen Road. All the. Did you remember when the England games played Ellen Road? Yeah. Atmosphere was absolutely incredible. Wasn't it? I honestly think I know it's crazy to say it, but I think Leeds have probably got a pretty good shot getting to Europe this year. And I mean that. I really do.
What do you think, Casper?
Go for it.
I've just got a quick question to the Liverpool supporter and to the Leeds supporter. What's the difference between the Gegenpress and this Bielsa kind of style of high intensity?
No different at all. Different languages. That's
looks a lot like
just different languages to describe it, mate. You're absolutely spot on, Casper. They're two managers who believe in getting people's faces. And I think if you asked Bielsa, like Klopp's always said, he wants the games at Anfield to be the hardest games of that opponent's season. And I think Bielsa would completely agree that he wants anyone who comes up against his Leeds side to be their trickiest game, home or away, of the season. I'll tell you now, the Leeds game, I think, was still our hardest game of the season because they just did not stop. They were relentless. They literally went toe-to-toe with us. They did not sit back at any point. They just went toe-to-toe with us. And they're proving a handful for they're going to win an awful lot of games late on this year, their season, because of their fitness. And the fact they're now bringing in X Factor to complement all those workhorses they've got. That's the big thing to stay in the Premier League. You do need that little bit of stardust, and they've got that now. Yes.
Yeah. So can I ask, is it Dave who's a Leeds fan? How big's their squad? I mean, have they got a big? If they get a couple of injuries, if they burn out,
what Dave times they made some quality signings in the summer and didn't really sell that many. So, from where I'm sat, I think they're all right. But Dave might say otherwise on the chat.
Most big clubs have got a full contingent.
Yeah, most have. West Ham haven't. We've only got 23 in our Premier League squad this season. But, that's another story for another day.
I also like, and this is, to be fair, at the moment they're at the end of the Premiership and the Cups, so that will really help them.
It's interesting because I can sympathise with what Dave's saying there about Bielsa liking a small squad, because West Ham fans were up in arms that we didn't sign more players in the summer, although we made a couple of really good quality signings in Kufau and Benrahma. But then when challenged on it, on his first press conference at the end of the transfer window, more like having a small squad because I work want to know who my best 11 is in the first place. And cover from injuries should come from your kids. It's like, why have an academy system if you're not going to bring them in when times are tough? If you're just going to have, you're paying someone, £100 a week to sit on the bench to come on because someone else gets injured. It's not the way I want to run this football club. So I think that kind of echoes what Dave's saying, really, that Bielsa likes a small squad, and you kind of cross that bridge when you come to it, but you make sure you've got the kids there ready to step up. And sure, they might make a few mistakes, but it's probably not going to make or break you winning the league for a mid-table team that Leeds, or mid to top that Leeds will probably end up being this season.
Look at Nat Phillips yesterday. Liverpool. He was about to leave in January. He was about to leave before Van Dijk got injured.
Yeah,
he steps up against a very talented big lad. But you've got who's that? Is it Croatian or Slovakian? The big midfielder. West Ham.
What time is? Tilček. Yeah.
Tilček. In the last 10 minutes, when you were quite rightly just hitting that target in the box, Nat Phillips, who could have been out of Liverpool in the summer, fifth choice centre back. I think he got man of the match. Yeah. So there are kids there. I mean, there's a famous photo, isn't there, of Harry Kane and Vardy sitting on Millwall's bench together.
Yeah,
they were both on loan at Millwall together, and they were sitting on the bench behind two cheap foreign imports who weren't any good. And now look at them. So I think you're right. I think kids and Brendan Rodgers will do that at Leicester for sure. And I think Bielsa will absolutely do that for Dave. Will do that at Leeds. And Klopp is proved. Look, Curtis Jones started the last game. Harvey Elliott, 17 years old, at loan at Blackburn at the moment. So Klopp is doing it. And David Moyes deserves a massive amount of credit for buying. Who's that right wing? Bowen.
Yeah, Jared Bowen
and the other lad. Why not give these lads a chance? If you score 20 goals, if you can score 20 goals in the Championship, relentless, hard, competitive league that it is, why can't you do that in the Premiership?
Well, the answer to that's the same. I mean, you're a Liverpool fan, Mark. You should know that because Klopp will bring in a megastar that can play at the top level, and they're not playing for 4 months because he needs to learn the system and learn to play under the Liverpool way. It's similar. So Bowen, was supposed to take a while to be bled in the side, and actually got dropped in due to an injury. I think it was 3 games in. Didn't play that well his first game, but then he was on fire this was after the restart, obviously. For the rest of the season, he was on fire. Really, really good, exciting attacking. So Moyes didn't have much of a choice at that point. He said, I thought this guy was going to take long to develop, but he hasn't. He said, he's top draw. Ben Rama, he's a bit less of a Moyes type player. On deadline day, Moyes wanted Josh King as a backup for when Antonio got injured because his hammies go all the time. And
Josh King's right, he's solid.
Yeah, good player, Josh King. And but we went for Ben Rama, the flair player, because that's who David Sullivan wanted to buy, and who would do all right, but he didn't even make the squad for his first game, and the report was he wasn't match fit. So I take that as kind of Moyes Premier League match fit because he worked some hard on the training ground. He made the bench yesterday, came on the 88th minute. I imagine, as we said last week, Mark, we've played City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs in our first. We played all the big boys in our first 7 games and come out with 8 points, which could have been a lot worse after losing to Newcastle. Got Fulham next, and Sheffield United, and a few other teams that we should be. We have a chance of winning. Let's put it that way. Where Ben Rama is more likely to feature, I think. But
he deserves a massive amount of credit for giving these lads a chance, mate. Yeah. It's the West Ham way. It goes back a few years, isn't it? It's bring the youngsters in. At least you've got to give these lads. Rashford only got. Do you remember Martial pulled his hamstring in the warm up? Rashford on debut, bang! Suddenly he's up and running. So you've got to give these lads a chance. And I completely agree with what everyone's saying. That your lad, Casper, from a dad's point of view, you're going to hope surely that. From a COVID point of view, it's going to really affect the budgets of the big clubs, and these youngsters are going to get a chance a hell of a lot quicker, to be honest.
I think you've just hit the nail on the head. I think there'll be less buying in players from overseas, and I think Brexit will kind of, have a positive impact on the English game by preventing easy access to European players. I mean, there will be some clubs, and Leicester's one of those clubs who's got like a holding club I think Leuven's Leicester's club. Chelsea have got a Dutch club, and but they'll still feed the players. But I think that's going to be a positive thing, and every squad has to have a certain number of English players. So I think
British.
Sorry, there's
homegrown, I think is the correct term.
So I think we'll have a positive impact. So,
Dave,
I've got a question for Dave. So Dave, what do you think the score will be tomorrow? And I mean, I'll give you my prediction. I think it will be 2-0 to Leicester. I also think that Leeds are going to die and wither after Christmas. I think they're going to just.
Where's that mute?
I think they're going to run out of steam.
You've been quiet for a while, Casper. You were saving it all up, weren't you?
Yeah, he was.
One of the main issues I think with Leeds is that people are going to figure out every system can be figured out, and then one system club are very unlikely to be successful, apart from Leicester when they won the league. Leicester are like a 3 or 4 system club now, and that's because they've just been given that opportunity to try different things in the Premier League. I don't think Leeds will get relegated, but I think there will be. I think they'll be further down the table after Christmas, once people figure out how to play against them, and that's no bad thing on Leeds. They've had to do this. They've had to have a dogmatic system, otherwise they wouldn't get to where they are. But I think the Premier League will find them out.
I've got to say, Casper, I agree with the 4 ways of playing, because you tried them all against us when we battered you a few weeks ago. Yeah, tried them all in one day.
Yeah, I
think we played well that day, but you never got started. It was a bad day at the office for your guys.
I mean, Leeds traditionally have the word dirty associated with them, and they buy massive, big gorilla players who will kick you out the park. I'm sure those days have gone. The dirty physical Leeds, and they've got a really, really good manager. But I think Leicester would have studied them in absolute, to the infinite minutiae detail, and they would have figured a way through. Leicester might not win. Let's face it, they might not win. But I think they will, and I think it'll be 2-0, and they would have figured out a way to beat Leeds. And I think that will be. I'm probably going to eat my words if I ever come back on this show, but you got
let's get our predictions in then. So Mark, so we've got 2-1 from Dave, which I presume is 2-1 to Leeds. Mark, what do you think the score is going to be tomorrow night?
3-3.
3-3.
I think you can see goals. I can see goals everywhere.
Toffer, what do you think the score is going to be?
Toffer.
Chris, is it different, Chris?
Me?
No, it's Toffer.
Is that Chris Martin?
3. Yeah. 3.
Is that Chris Martin?
That's why he said you know who I support. Anyway, sorry, he's a bit slow on the uptake.
I didn't click that. Chris, grab a support.
And Chris has said. Chris has said 3-1, but that's because Chowdhury will be found.
Okay, I'm going for
on the penalty spot when meant to be.
Casper, I'm really sorry. I'm going for 2-1 to Leeds as well. So
I'm sitting on the fence. I've got a Spencer right in my cheek.
I think Leeds have got the momentum at the moment, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying about Leicester, Casper. I think you're going to have a good season and be top 6. And I accept what you're saying that people. I don't think Leeds will particularly run out of steam, but I think they will get found out a little bit by some of the bigger players on the work out a way to beat them. But I don't think we're there yet, and I think that Leeds will have a lot of success up until Christmas and January, and then they'll lose some games they shouldn't as the season goes on. But they'll still be there or thereabouts, and they'll be kicking about. I think Leeds, top 8. 8th, 9th end of the season is a good season for them. For any team that comes up.
Squad-wise, we forgetting that Leeds can add in January? Are we forgetting that Leeds could add players in January to increase their squad size?
I think this is the thing.
So
the transfer window closed, and it was only 12 weeks until it opened again. So a lot of teams did early business and then said, "Well, let's just wait and see how we're looking in January. If we've got injuries, we might invest." But as we've all said, with a new lockdown and so on, so no fans going into the stadiums. The money is getting scarcer and scarcer for the big clubs.
I've got to say, Casper, I know it is a bit controversial, but I love what you just said then, and that's what this program is, or this show or discussion is what it's all going to be about. It's people just being honest, and it's just football discussion at the end of the day, isn't it? No one's going to agree with absolutely everything. I mean, Ali talks out of his arse about Salah, so he can shut up about that. But apart from that, we agree on
along with all 3 match of the day pundits. So I hasten to add, talking shit, ex-England captain Alan Shearer and so on. Oh dear.
Yeah, because he never died.
Oh dear.
I really don't. I don't want Leeds to get relegated. I absolutely don't want. I want to see them do well. But I think we've
I don't
agree.
I said I kind of agree with that.
They might start struggling towards the end of the season
because they got no Europe. They won't struggle this season because they got no Europe. They got just the cup, and they might throw the Carling Cup. They might not want anything to do with it. They might just focus on the FA Cup and the Premiership. So they haven't actually got that many games to run out of steam in. If you see what I mean, they're not fighting Europa League Thursday, Sunday. They haven't got that distraction. They're just going Saturday, maybe to Wednesday in the cup, and then to Saturday or Sunday. So they haven't got that fixture pile up. So Leeds do have the advantage. Are you a Leicester in Europa League? Are they? So you've got to go Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday at some point. Right. So that'll be interesting to see if Leicester can keep it going.
Got a big squad though.
Yeah, but we've got a full squad. We've got a big, massive
including
squad.
your
Every
son
single slot filled up to the limit of the Premier League.
15.
Can't wait.
Boy, what position do you play, Casper? CDM.
Yes.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
Well,
what's his national allegiance? Is it England or Netherlands?
Yeah. It's strange. So it's England, obviously.
Oh,
because I'm here, but
probably why he's good at football.
So you never know.
All right, Mark. Do you want to do a topic?
Let's talk about predictions already in these crazy. Do you think there could be a shock in the top 4? No, not final league. Do you think there could be a shock, a so-called shock in the top 6 or top 4, like a club like Leeds or Leicester getting into the top 4 in this crazy COVID times with no fans? Do you think it evens the playing field? If you look at the away teams winning, at the amount of away teams that are winning games now, do you think there could be a shock in the top 4 or top 6? And who?
I think there will be a massive shock. Massive shock.
We're going to win the league.
We'll win it.
It's not.
Bale just scored the winner. So
he's
finding his feet.
Yeah,
Gareth Bale did he?
Yeah, he did. After a Kane dive. Ali, sorry.
It's no good.
Well, it's good.
Yeah.
Everybody assumes. Look, it's going to be harder.
Because what I said last week, Spurs
will be
are dead set to win
the title.
Most of the team are fit. They've got the best centre forward combination in Son and Kane of any team. They've invested brilliantly over the summer, bringing talent in. They've got a really good defence. Probably at the moment the best defence in the Premier League. And they've got a manager that's going to stake his life on winning the league this year. Like him or hate him, he'll grind out those 1-0s against the big teams, and he'll score big against smaller teams. He'll win away games, and that difficult first season's out of the way for them. And do they go top if they win tonight? Let's have a look.
No.
Well, they go second at least. Second.
Can I point out that Liverpool have not even clicked into gear yet? They've got a mountain of injuries, and we're still top.
Yeah, you are. But what I'd say is when you didn't have a amount of injuries at the end of lockdown, when it came back, there was you looked vulnerable, and that was with Van Dijk and Robertson and Trent. All of a sudden, you weren't defending properly, and you've got to get back to
the last 4 games. We've won since Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, without Van Dijk. So when he comes back in, and I'm not saying Van Dijk's your Achilles heel all of a sudden, but I'm just saying it's just not that black and white. But Liverpool have, in the last 6 months, shown themselves to be penetrable. Whereas for a long time, no one could work out how to beat them. And, for me, we've gone to Anfield twice this year, and we should have beaten you both times. And, by hook or by crook, we should have beaten you. You're not going to. Obviously, you're not going to agree with that. Yeah, of course we should.
You should have beaten us.
Yeah, I think we should have beaten you because the first goal was debatable, and the second goal, the keeper's view was obstructed by Mane in an offside position. So therefore, it should have been 1-0 to West Ham. But we scored an early goal. All right, yeah, I'm obviously just being facetious. But we scored an early goal, and then we set up a rear guard, which was what we were always going to do away at Anfield at this time. With all your strikers, you might have some injuries, but all your strikers are fit. The best forward three in Europe and all of that. So teams are going to do that against Liverpool, and when teams do that, sometimes they get a result out of it. So I think look, yes, you've got players to come back, and if you can go on a long sustained period of wins, you will win the league again. But to say that's a given, you can't. Spurs in this moment, Spurs have momentum, and everyone else looks a bit shaky, including Liverpool, because if that was 2 years, if that was beginning of last season, say you would have beaten West Ham 5-0 or 5-1 or 4-0 or something like that, and there's other results where the Villa game, other teams will be looking at videos of that game over and over and over and saying, what's the weak point? Everyone, we talk about all the time, Mark, your defensive line's too high. So anyone with pace,
ridiculous,
can suck you up, soak up the pressure, have someone stood on the halfway line just ready to go, and they just put it over your defenders. They'll get 3 or 4 chances. They'll get 3 or 4 chances in the game, and if they score 2 of them, they'll beat you, or they could beat you. So it's
the difference is our attack is not clicking at the moment. Our defence is completely rocked by Van Dijk. Matip's made of candy floss. We've got January as well. I think we'll do business in January. I think we'll get at least 1 centre back in January, so that might help us. Don't forget, we have got a transfer window coming up. We've got Thiago, who hasn't even played a home game yet. Keita's out injured. Ox is out injured. Like I said, Matip's out. So we've got to let's get our squad back for a concerted amount of time. Let's get these 7 or 8 injuries back. And I completely agree. We are vulnerable. And that's why I keep saying on Twitter, our attack has to click. At some point, our attack has to step up.
Van Dijk might be out for the season, though, Mark.
Absolutely. So that's why we got January to come, which is going to be very important.
As we said last week, though, who are you going to replace Van Dijk with? I mean, Matip and Gomez are good defenders, but they're not Van Dijk, are they? But who is? Remember when we said who are you going to sign? We couldn't think of anyone, could we?
We're going to have to sign someone who's ready-made. We're going to have to spend.
Hi, Chris.
Cheers, Chris. All the best, mate. See you soon.
Yeah, come on, you Wayne.
To be honest, I would love us to really show. Do you know what? We've lost Virgil. Going to have to show some ambition. Going to have to show some balls. And we're going to have to show a sign as close to a ready-made replacement, like what's his name at Napoli, or Baravan. Or I know we have to pay huge money, but I know people say to me on Twitter, when I say we didn't strengthen enough, we were champions of Europe, we were champions of the Premier League, World Club Championship. That makes much difference, but we had to use that to really nail down our squad. And we signed Thiago, we signed this Greek lad who looks all right, but we did not strengthen. And we signed Jota, who looks fantastic. But I still think we need a world-class number 9.
So on the basis, Mark, of your squad's full, you've got a 25-man squad, of which 7 or 8, I think 7 are injured at the moment. So with all your players back fully fit, who would you take out of that squad to replace with a top signing? Who is it you'd let go from the Liverpool squad? Because you need to you need to sell someone to buy someone, essentially, don't you?
Yes,
you need to make space.
Probably to keep our homegrown quota up. I'd probably sell, because he was a free transfer as well. We'd be making a massive profit. I'll probably sell Matip, because Gomez would help towards our homegrown quota, and I think Gomez can improve, and he does thrive next to Van Dijk. We would probably get 20 million, 25 million for Matip. We didn't spend a penny for him. He was free. I would love us to sign. I love Bobby Firmino, but he's only scored once in 28 games for Liverpool, or something like that. Twice maybe in 28 games, and we're still top of the league, and we still won the league in this form. That goes back to last year as well. Where would we have been if our number 9 had been banging goals in left, right, and centre?
Well, goals weren't a problem for you, were they? So is Firmino? Was Firmino a problem for you if you're banging in 4 goals but Bobby didn't score? Because how many assists did he do last season?
Not many.
Oh, really?
Barely registered an assist. But he does a lot of hard work. I'm not knocking him like that. But he needs time out of the fight. Jota's come in, has been absolutely fantastic. Direct, lively, scoring goals, headed goals, tap-ins, whatever you want to call it.
Him.
Shaqiri. Oh, yeah, I know you would. Oh, I know. Thiago will be in a midfield when everyone's fit, or now?
Where are you going to play Thiago?
He will start every big game. Yeah, Thiago will start.
You've just
probably with Henderson,
Barcelona, ex-winger.
Yeah, he's from Bayern. I reckon Thiago will start. He'll start with Henderson and
from Barcelona
probably Gini Wijnaldum at the moment, I'd say. I don't... Yeah, no, it'd have to be.
So Thiago comes in.
Wonderful player.
You can't bench Thiago.
One of the best... he's a CDM.
No, that's what I mean. No, he starts with Gini.
No, as a 3.
Thiago starts.
Yeah.
Yes, as a 3, because we played that 3 in midfield, don't we? We play 3 in midfield and 3 attackers, 4-3-3. So yeah, he would start with Gini and Henderson. He's world class. He's genuinely world class, and I think we need now with Virgil out, we need to look at adding people like him, whether we can. And he's COVID. Our owners are very, 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 very lucky they got Jurgen Klopp. I've told Ali this, and we've had some good-natured discussions about our owners, that every so often their mask does slip, and they try and have 77 ticket prices and 115 quid shirt this season. But they've got to back Klopp in January. But whether Klopp doesn't actually like, I know this is going to sound really stupid, he doesn't actually like to spend money on big bucks, but he did because he had Coutinho money, if that makes sense. So he had the money there to spend, and he had the opportunity to sign Virgil van Dijk and Alisson. Hopefully he realises that we've got to be ruthless with Bobby and drop him for a while and sign a world-class number 9. Because as you say, Ali, you've hit the nail on the head. If our defence is, our attack has to step up, and if we can't strengthen the defence, then we've really got to just try and blow teams away like we did for the first bit of last season to get on a roll. But do you know what? If Spurs won the league, I'll be the first one to hold my hands up and go, "Wow, respect." I wouldn't be bitter. I wouldn't be bitter. I would not be bitter. I'll be different.
I'd
say, do you know,
I'd blame every top 6 team in the Premier League for not stepping up their game enough to stop Spurs from winning the league. But that's just a personal thing.
It's a different team winning it. It's a different team winning it. I'm a massive fan of Jose Mourinho because he just wants to win. That's it. Bottom line, he wants to win, and I love that attitude. I love that mentality. So if Spurs won the league, I'll be happy for them. Respect.
I'd rather Leicester win it than Spurs, as they did. But for Spurs, I would have rather them win it under Pochettino and his footballing ethos, than Jose's. we talked about the Amazon documentary last week, didn't we? The All or Nothing Tottenham Hotspur.
It's so funny, mate. It's so funny.
And how, I mean, you don't see, you only get snippets of what's going on behind the scenes there, which was clear with the whole Danny Rose situation. And they showed one conversation and didn't show the vitriol between the two of them. But also didn't really, they're very mindful of, on the Spurs version, not so much on the Man City version, of giving away their tactics. Their game plan, I should say, rather than their tactics going into each game. So on the Man City version, bearing in mind it's retrospective by the time you watch it, there was a bit more of an insight into how Pep motivates his team. But there wasn't so much of that on the Spurs side.
Ooh. Dave has got no particular order. He said Liverpool are definitely going to win the league. He says it clearly there. Man City, Spurs, and Leicester for the top four. But he definitely said that Liverpool are going to win the league. Clearly see in the chat. Yeah, just saying. Yeah. What do you think now? Right, what do you think about the future of Liverpool in COVID? The future of football, sorry, not Liverpool. Future of COVID. How are different owners going to react? I mean, Manchester United's debt has doubled in recent times with COVID. It's now like 500 million in debt again. Liverpool's owners are being very, very prudent, which I think is probably the right way to go. But you've got to balance it out. You still improve. Leicester's owners are very, very switched on. West Ham's owners are very, very streetwise. So how do you think different owners are going to react to this long-term problem?
Don't think it is a long-term problem, to be honest. I think we'll get to. Sorry, I don't want to turn to a COVID conversation, but I genuinely think that we'll get into the latter part of the season, and vaccinations will be out there. Fans will be back in grounds, and we'll slowly start returning to the previous model. The bigger clubs, obviously, the cash amounts that they've been affected by are larger. But just sticking with the Premier League for a moment, because we spoke last week, Mark, about what's going on in the lower leagues and how scary that is for them. But in terms of the Premier League, although the Premier League's top teams will have lost the most money, they've got the infrastructure to create the most money as well, to loan the most money on a long-term model during a time of very low interest rates. I don't think it will take that long. A couple of seasons to get back to normal, and in the meantime, the good news things that we're talking about, in terms of the Premier League, about homegrown talent, Brexit kicking in January. Those things will mean that we'll start looking a bit more like the Bundesliga, which can't be a bad thing, really. There'll be more fan influence over the team in the short term, because our buck will go a bit further when we return to the game. We're seeing it right now with I don't know if we'll get onto it or not, but the pay-per-view thing, that's going to collapse very quickly.
Let's get out. We've had enough of COVID. Oh, it's my bad. I brought it up. Let's talk about the stupid, I'm going to swear, fucking stupid, out of touch, greedy, and I include Liverpool in this because they voted for it, out of touch, greedy, just worst decision in many, many years to have pay-per-view games in the middle of a pandemic when everyone's struggling to put food on the table.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the model. It's just the price. No one minds paying a fiver to watch their team play as a one-off. Yeah, but £15. It's like a boxing match or something, isn't it? Which I wouldn't pay for. It's just for me that's not value for money at all. I'll watch it on Match of the Day, thanks very much, or listen to it on 5 Live. It doesn't. I'm never going to pay £15 to watch a game of football on TV.
No.
And
that's when you pay already.
I'd like to see. I'd like to see how that £15 broken down. I mean, it'd be good to keep kind of the people who are sat behind the cameras, and the people who rely on a modest income to get the game beamed into our homes or wherever they work, and there must be a massive supply chain there. So you want them to get paid, So I'd love to see a split, and that would be probably a more honest way to do it. Is that this is the split of where your £15 goes. So £5 goes to pay all the people who are actually doing the job, manning the generators and all that sort of stuff, and then five quid's going to Sky for the satellite.
Yeah,
and then
I don't think it is, given the end of last season.
It's still expensive,
and
but
for
people
the
might
model that was
understand
adopted then,
the cost
which
of
were
doing it.
You subscribe to Amazon Prime already. You can watch every game on Amazon Prime for free today. There was those kind of things occurring. Yeah, of course it was. And actually, they started doing that pre-COVID. So, but I get, I guess my point is, if they were to break it down like that, is it going to come to £15 or Sky taking £8 per? I know BT, because there's people that the consensus already has come back as this needs to go down to £5.
Yeah. I think that's
I'm kind of echoing what I've been brainwashed to say already by other people in the sport saying that, but I don't know. I just said, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, Leicester are the only club who voted it down, weren't they? Leicester said we're not interested in this. We don't want to do this. And again, it goes back to Leicester's altruism, is that they probably said we don't want, if it is a fiver, we don't want
a £15 game pass to watch 4 games over the weekend. I could just about
we want our fans to watch our games.
But to watch one, say you pay £15 to watch your team, it's a rainy November evening on a Tuesday or something. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is, does it? And it's 0-0, and you paid £15 for that. And I know that's often that is the experience of a football fan, I guess, going to a stadium. And as a West Ham fan, I've paid 45 quid to go and watch my team lose 4-0 at home. It's not a nice feeling when you walk out thinking, this started as an endeavour when I was a child, and it was £4 to get in, and and all of that stuff. But
Dave just said the fact is that it's been reviewed after the international break, then it can be done for less.
It needs to be, though, doesn't it? I mean, right now, I think our next game is pay-per-view, Fulham game.
Is it against Villa by any chance? Because Villa's next 6 games, or at some point, Villa's got 6 games in a row at 15 quid charge on pay-per-view. Their fans are jumping.
And that's a big club thing again. This isn't a criticism of big clubs. It's Sky and BT wanting the big games, isn't it? So they go for the big games with the big clubs, and then you're left with kind of lesser ties with lesser impact. There might be, for example, the Villa Burnley. But if a Villa fan or a Burnley fan wants to watch that game, they've got to pay £15. Whereas if you're a Liverpool fan, if you're a Man U fan, Spurs fan, and you've got Sky and or BT, you're not going to pay any more than you're already paying to watch those games. So there's a bit of kind of club inequality that creeps in as a result of that as well.
What about something like Premflix? There was a bit of an article on this. Is every Premflix, say Premier League creates something like Netflix? So it's £20 a month to watch every single one of your club's games, and the money that how can I put it? The fans from each club, the amount of fans that subscribe to each club's version of Premflix goes straight to that club. And I think that's quite fair, to be honest with you. I think that's quite a good idea. Every club gets money. Would
you only get to watch your own team's games?
No, every single game. It'll be like it is now. So just be on there. So you could like BT have the full game and stuff like that.
But you just declare your affiliation when you sign up.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
I think that's a fair way to do it.
Yeah, I'd go for that.
I would pay 20 quid a month, wouldn't you? I'd pay 30 quid a month if I knew I'd get to watch every single game, and maybe the under-21s as well. If they throw in Premier League 2 in there, the under-21s games, or under-23s, I'd pay that money for it. I think they're missing a trick there. I really do. And it would put Sky in there. It would put Sky in their place, BT, and they'd have to rethink it. And suddenly there'll be a bidding war who could go lowest.
I don't think I've got as much free time as you if you've got time for the under-21s as well, Mark.
Well, you can just watch. I like watching these things. I keep an eye on the amount of players that come through, and you think, "Wow, he's good," and then he's gone. It's like Brewster. I can't believe we sold Brewster, to be honest with you. But we got 25 million for him, so Fair dues. We can buy him back for 40 in 2 years' time, I think. So if he really hits the ground running. Loan systems. Are you in favour of loan systems? How should loan systems be used? Have good examples and bad examples of. You said you got quite a few under 23s out, Casper. Which one's your pick to make it big time? Because I'm not familiar with who big Leicester talents are.
Oh.
Prime games shown and smaller clubs will be shown less on BT.
23.
I can talk about loans quite a bit.
Go for it.
At West Ham, because it's funny because we were traditionally known. I know we're not anymore, but we were traditionally known as the Academy of Football because we were one of the first clubs to have a great academy system.
You did.
Yeah, it's going back a while now, but obviously the West Ham fans still hang their hat on that.
The names you've produced: Ferdinand, Defoe, Lampard.
Yeah, they're all historic now, really, and the ones, so the names that have come through from the academy more recently haven't done the whole journey. So, Declan Rice was dropped by Chelsea, aged, sorry, cat's trying to jump on the table, aged 13 or 14, and has been at West Ham since then. So hasn't done that full journey. And so we see a lot of players come through the academy system, and we go through the loan system. We all go in there, apply their wares in lower league clubs, and then they get to their breakthrough season when they should join our first team, and we sell them. So this season we sold Josh Cullen, who's done a great job at Charlton for a couple of seasons, and had the odd game for us in between. He went off somewhere. Last season it was
Who was the one that Noble was particularly upset? You sold.
So that was Grady Diangana, right? Who was on loan at West Brom last season. But that was furious. Yeah, I mean the first team players were unhappy about it, but he'd not played in the Premier League yet. He had a good season with West Brom last season. What didn't help was he had his full debut for West Brom this season. Scored a worldie in the first 20 minutes, but then they lost 4-1 or 5-1. So it's the overall contribution, and we use that money to buy Ben Rama. So swings and roundabouts really. But the loan system, I think, is only as good as the players that you recruit in the first place. Some clubs do that really well. West Ham aren't one of them particularly. But where I think the loan system can be quite repressive for football overall is when you've got big clubs like, the worst example of it is Chelsea, who will sign, dozens of players and put them out on loan to feeder clubs in England and abroad. For me, there's a bit of on the pretense that they might play for Chelsea one day, but if they don't, they haven't gone to another Premier League club. And so it stops those players working up through the alternative system that other Premier League clubs have of, getting them in at 17, 18, gradually bringing them in and leading them because they're abroad on loan for Chelsea. So that annoys, I think it's probably, a bit of a personal thing being a West Ham fan and not being a huge fan of Chelsea. But, for a team to have that many players on loan and most of them come back and don't really do anything for Chelsea anyway. And then, the height of their youth has been on loan at teams, not as part of their development for Chelsea, but almost as, an avoidance of, buy as much talent up as we can at an early age and loan it out so that they don't play against us. That's kind of, maybe I'm just paranoid about it, but that's how it looks to me.
Dave's made a couple of really good points. In favour of loans, downside is we bring on Ben White and then he goes back to Brighton. Liverpool are interested in Ben White, maybe in January. Jack Harrison on loan from City for 2 seasons, came on under Bielsa, but he's still in favour of the loan system, yeah. That's true. Lower leagues do.
Yeah, that's true.
We're going to say Casper.
So I've just Googled this. I didn't know off the top of my head. I'll be honest about it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players I can see on loan. So Mitch Clark, Darnell Johnson, Sam Hughes, George Hurst, and Josh Knight. So that's a pretty good start, really. So players that I hear that are doing really well. Darnell Johnson and Josh Knight are doing really well. And hopefully those kind of players, they'll go out on loan. They'll learn the men's game, as they say, and he'll come back like Harvey Barnes did, when he came back off loan, and then he'll start ripping. They'll start ripping up the Premier League. Hamza Chowdhury, he went out on loan to Burton Albion, I believe, and he came back. He's still got a long way to go, I think, as a CDM, and he came straight back into the first team. The mistake that he made against Villa, you can see. I mean, Leicester would have, I think, got a result against Villa had it not been for that mistake. But you can't judge a player on a mistake. He was out of position. We're talking about Hamza Chowdhury went out on
he
loan.
loves to tackle.
He's a very tenacious player, and what I've heard about it. Yeah, and actually, I've heard that that's what he was like when he was a kid. So those traits that you are when you're young stick with you. So he was known for his ability to tenaciously tackle, and you need that. But I think he probably needs to develop as a player his other parts of the game to get more, improve his passing, his vision, his I know he needs to become kind of he needs to be more intelligent with his players as CDM, more of a Thiago. He's never going to be a Thiago, but he needs to find those passes that no one else sees to get to break 3 lines in one pass. That's what you've got with Thiago. He can break 3 lines in one pass and get the ball all the way out to the corner flag for somebody to run onto. Have you seen clips of Thiago where with the outside of his foot? He'll curl the ball like a banana.
He must have been watching the Mark Collett YouTube videos, I reckon.
To run onto it.
There is one particular video in question with a bright green ball that I did ping in the top corner with airwalk trainers on. Anyway, carry on, Casper.
Is that the one from the corner?
Yes.
So Chowdhury will never be that player. But he needs to kind of at least step up and try and have that ambition to be.
So in terms of the loan system, and I'll probably stick fairly close to home here.
He'll just be that player that tackles.
Rio Ferdinand, Frank Lampard, in other London, Harry Kane went down as we said. Yeah, to play. There's a rich history of kind of England internationals plying their trade in the lower league on loan first and giving them a grounding, but also respect for the English game. And what it consists of, and cleaning the boots of senior pros on the way up and stuff like that. They probably don't do that anymore, but it's an important part of their grounding, really.
An interesting thought on why you say that. It latches onto exactly what you're saying. Is the tradition of how the youth Liverpool have a policy where they've actually cut their number of academy graduates by a third because they don't think it's right just to have lads there that have no chance of playing for Liverpool Football Club. Yeah. So that's quite often you'll see Liverpool youth team with only 3 or 4 guys on the bench. You only have 3 subs anyway. So you only have one defender, one midfielder, and a striker, and obviously a goalkeeper. So maybe 4 on the bench. But they've cut their academy by a third, and because they don't think it's fair that they have lads that. But they very much have the boot room tradition, as you were just saying, and they've got likes of Harvey Elliott, 17 years old. He's just gone to play under Tony Mowbray. He's a good football man. He likes to play good football. Curtis Jones hasn't gone out on loan. Quite surprised by that, but obviously Klopp rates him really highly. Yeah. And we've got injuries anyway. He might go on loan in January. So you're absolutely right. I think the youth team players should have that boot room mentality where they have to earn what they get. But in this day and age, with the big bucks, they get how many examples have we got of youngsters that get too much too soon, and they believe their own hype. And they're gone. But you're absolutely right, Ali. They should have that boot room mentality of doing that for the senior players.
Well, some clubs still do it, and some don't. And it's dependent on the ethos of that of that particular club and how they nurture the youth talent. And it's not necessarily about cleaning their boots. That's the old school example of it. But the cleaning the boots is almost a metaphor for. The things that they should be doing to respect the values of the club, the outlook and the effort that's required to progress. We know a lot of our greatest footballers didn't progress themselves through natural talent. They progressed it through hard work. They just kept they had some natural ability and they kept working and made themselves much better footballers. And then you've got naturally gifted footballers. We probably had one of the biggest at West Ham for a year, Man United, guy Ravel Morrison, who was going to be the next Pele. They were saying he was the most naturally gifted English footballer ever. I think he plays for Den Haag at the moment, or someone in Holland. But he's played in Barbados, he's played in America, all over the shop, but never took football seriously. Seriously enough to want to be an elite athlete, and it's an important part of it. So I think a big part of why the England setup has got kids knocking down the door every year at the moment is testament to the overall youth and loan system kind of combining and working pretty well in the majority of clubs. But I think
we've got Liverpool. Stop saying Liverpool. England have got a team full of right backs playing in the Premier League almost every week.
Yeah,
that's brilliant, isn't it? Left back's a bit more of a problem.
Yeah, it's very different to a few years ago.
Exactly. So, right back, we got literally almost 10, 11 lads playing every week.
Chilwell,
loads of them. The lad at Brighton's very good. Tim Morey? No. The guy at Blackburn played for Chelsea. He looks fantastic as well. He looks good. Little guy. He looks very, very good.
Don't know who you're talking about.
Oh, look, he played tonight. I'll get him.
Jesus, Mark. The mushrooms kicked in or something.
Don't do shrooms, kids. Don't do shrooms.
All right, I think it's time to move on to another subject anyway, isn't it? Well, you look it up and I'll
Lamperty. Lamperty. That's his
Lamperty,
name.
Yeah, great player, yeah. Very good player.
He's a good little player. Last subject, we've got 9 minutes left.
Okay, so I'm going to jump right to the end of my list and jump out the Premier League because we haven't done that yet, really, in the last 2 weeks, Mark. Is Spanish football done?
Yes.
Have we found it out?
Well, I wouldn't say it's done, but Real Madrid and Barcelona are really suffering from I didn't even watch El Clasico. Didn't even try and find a stream. I had no interest in it whatsoever. Eden Hazard, 1 goal. Is it 2 goals for Real Madrid in all that time?
Yeah.
He looks like he's been on the paella as well. So it's no longer a place for players to go and thrive, but I think it's just a place for players to go and receive one big paycheck because I don't think English clubs have any. Atletico Madrid are doing it right in Spain at the moment. I think they'll be the team to beat in a couple of years and as long as they keep doing what they're doing.
Arguably this season, they'll be the team to beat, won't they? Given the wild inconsistencies of Real and Barca so far.
Yeah, I think Barcelona are really struggling, mate. Really struggling.
It's unbelievable to see a team with Messi in it look so poor. As to be fair, I only watched Barcelona in the Champions League so far this season.
Yeah.
But what I've seen is a shadow of even the Barcelona of 2 years. The Barcelona that got turned over by Liverpool in the return leg. They're nothing like that.
Thanks for mentioning that, mate.
It was a good night, as a British football fan, as well as for Liverpool fans, glorious night. I was on my holidays on the Spanish island, which made it extra sweet. But
we broke them.
Yeah. Well, you could argue that, couldn't you? Because it's not been the same since. And but Barcelona, I think now don't. I mean, tiki-taka's gone. They don't know what system they're playing anymore. When I watch them, they are relying on individual genius of Messi and they're new, younger strikers.
Fati, isn't it? F-A-T-I?
Yeah, so Fati and Dembele, both very, very good young strikers and will probably form part of their future success. But, that's not the key part of their team that's crumbled, really. It's their defence and midfield.
I think we need to acknowledge Atletico Madrid potentially the most shithousery, bastardly.
And I was coming.
Awful. Don't want to play against those bad boys. Front two in history of Diego Costa and Luis Suarez in the same front two. Can you imagine being the centre backs looking up the pitch going, holy crap? If they click, can you imagine if they actually force some kind of partnership? Wow.
They're both wonderful footballers on their day. Well, Costa,
yeah.
not so much anymore. I mean, the thing is, they're both on the wane, aren't they? Costa in particular, but, Suarez didn't have a great season last season. But we've both seen what they can do in the Premier League and then since going to Barca and Atletico. Yeah, they're both brilliant footballers. But, it's kind of what we started the show with, Mark. Is that even football when they, someone touches their shoulder and they hold their face and fall over crying to try and get someone sent off to win a game? Yeah, we talked about you feel contact are going down. That's one thing. But, the lengths that both those footballers will go to win a game is to massively cheat to get someone else sent off to get a numerical advantage.
Absolutely right.
And it's no wonder, is it? The manager's Simeone, and we all remember World Cup '98. So,
yeah, I would love to see him in the Premier League. I would absolutely love to see him in the Premier League. I think can you imagine him in like Bissella and Klopp and Moyes, like just going Lampard trying to give him lip, like he tried to give Klopp lip at Anfield, and Brendan Rodgers just looking at him going, "Shut up, son," the kind of thing, So I would love to see Diego Simeone. He's the last manager in the world I'd love to see. He's the last big, box office one I'd love to see in the Premier League.
I've been listening to an audiobook that I've had for a while, but I listen to it all the time. It's by Hutulit, and it's How to Watch Football. Highly recommend it. It's one of the best football books I've ever listened to or read if you read it. But and he's a journeyman as well. Spent a lot of time in the UK, but he's played in all these clubs, and he just basically says quite often in his book, football is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing, constantly adapting. And what was good 5 years ago, tiki taka has evolved into maybe something else and something else. And there'll always be an evolution of like physicality, athleticism. I've had a few beers now, but what I'm trying to say. And sports science as well. So one of the things that Leicester's really good at is sports science, and it's probably one of the things that I should have said right at the beginning about how they won the title is that they're linked to Derby University, linked to Loughborough, and they have students like really at the cutting edge of science, like telling the coaches what to do next in terms of being at the edge, the edge of that kind of football envelope.
I don't want to alarm you, Casper.
So I think it's just going to involve tiki-taki's dead, but you're
and he just waved his bum hole at us as well. But apart from that, it's fine.
Whatever that is.
We had a right good view. We had a right. Oh, there he is. There he is. He didn't jump out the window. That's fine. It's not a Zoom or a Get Vocal without someone's pet bum coming in the camera. It's fine. It's supposed to happen. It's not normal if it doesn't happen. It's fine.
Hello, Frankie.
Hi, Frankie. Lampard.
This is Frankie.
Yeah, you can pass it on though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't hear because I got my son.
Right, lads, we've got 3 minutes left.
Can't hear you.
Is there last final thoughts, Ali, on the weekend football?
Hi,
go. 30 seconds. Go.
I want to check the Spurs final score first, Mark. Which probably takes
2-1.
2-1.
Bale winner. Kane penalty for diving. What?
Well, nice to have a weekend that wasn't completely dominated by VAR, which I stand by what I said last week. It's starting to work out a little bit better, starting to settle down a bit this season with the refs looking at the monitors. Not surprised to see kind of Liverpool at the top of the perch, and not surprised to see Spurs just behind them either. Everton and Villa dropping points again, bit of a surprise, but not really at the same time. So it's shaping up well. I'm still hoping Man City have a terrible season. That's it.
Dave, get typing while I ask Casper. Dave, get typing. Casper, 30 seconds. What's your thoughts for the weekend?
I've had a really good weekend.
Saturday 12 o'clock's also a good time, isn't it?
So
win or lose, you're done. And then you can at least concentrate on the rest of your weekend.
Yeah. So I've not had that kind of emotion, and that Ali described it really well. That absolute gloom and despair when you walk away. So those two halves of it, of spending 40 quid on a game. So I'm just looking forward to Monday. I think it's been a pretty good weekend.
Watching the Southampton game
football,
in a minute, Dave.
not
Quite right. Dave just said great result for
3 or 4
Southampton.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Monday night,
I think
2-0.
we will. Oh, look at that! Just in time. Well, please join if you can join us next week, chaps. Dave, sort your bloody Leeds Wi-Fi out. I'm sure that's probably what it is. Bloody Wi-Fi up there in Leeds. And Casper, can you join us next week if you possibly can? I'm sure there'll be loads of talking.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Yeah, short of going down with COVID or flood, I'll be here if you want me.